which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hearing your collective voices pledge allegiance to our flag makes me feel great. Sit down, Ken. We gotta go. Join me in a moment of silence, please. It's a tradition we have here now. Pardon me, for our men and women in uniform. Thank you. It's sad to note that the nightly news now talks about policemen and whatnot around the country getting shot left and right. Bothers me a little bit. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, just remind you that you were invited to have the board visit a Farmington marijuana plant.
Yep, we have been invited, and I'm going to encourage my colleagues to trek down to Farmington with me so we can see a commercial entity in operation. And hopefully, and I know this will probably benefit me more than anybody else, and see what this facility looks like so we can get a better sense of what expectations should be for the future, assuming we like what we see, and then ask questions if we don't. So before we leave, let's pick a date. I'm just going to do this casually at the end, okay? Next.
Apparently, the airport commission just met prior to this meeting, and they voted 5-1 in favor of asking the board to approve DuBois King move forward with the design for the parallel taxiway.
Thank you.
So you want to discuss that?
Let's
And,
make, right.
One other thing, Steve, on the executive session, is an abatement. Only poverty tax abatements are done in executive session, and it's under discussion of confidential records, but this is a case where it's not a poverty tax abatement, so that should be moved to new business. There are cases where the assessors can abate 1 year and you can go back to additional on it.
This was just our mistake.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, before we move forward, I just want to point in time where it's good to recognize some folks who have worked very hard for our town and what they've done for our town. The Rangeley Snowmobile Club, once again, under the guidance of Johnny Wakefield and colleagues, have done a fabulous job of promoting Rangeley, bringing business to our town and put people in our beds and folks in our restaurants and so on and so forth. Do they come to church on Sunday? Just in your
We're only
experience?
open in the summer, so
Oh, you're one of those, okay.
a lot.
Yeah, but anyways, I want
We
to,
give them a
Not
dispensation.
thank you.
Steve,
I-
not typically.
No? No. You open early enough for them before, no, just talking about. But I do want to thank them and recognize them. It's another fabulous event, and thank for all of their efforts. I appreciate that. On a personal note, my son worked real hard at getting a world record. Most of you don't even know what occurred, but the weekend before Snowdio, Tyler and crew and volunteers from all over the place, some here in town, some from as far away as New York, came and helped us break the world record for the largest carousel in the world on ice. So it just, I don't get to say, I usually don't say too much about my family, but I'm pretty proud of them and all the work he did. I need a motion for the minutes of January 7th.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the January 7th, 2019 regular meeting minutes with any corrections or additions.
Second.
Any changes?
For me.
All set? All in favor? Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public to speak for non-agenda items. A lot of you here, come to me first and then we'll go on.
Mr. Chairman, along with the praise that you passed along to the Snowdio Committee, I'd like to praise the town crew for the exceptional work that they did in town to make the business as accessible as possible. We had quite a mixture of weather last week to deal with, and I believe they met the challenge, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Save me for doing it later under, telling me, appreciate that, thank you. They did do a fabulous job, by the way, this week. And by the way, the chief was very responsive about some of the parking issues that were addressed right away Saturday afternoon. I'm very impressed with them all, and they're working under some difficult considerations simply. They're lacking in some staff. Next. Sir.
The Rangeley School Board voted
a resolution to support Raise the Floor initiative, and I wanted to deliver a letter to the
Thank you.
council and showing our support and asking that the council consider their support.
What Mr. Reynolds is talking about is we had a presentation some weeks ago about a lobbying, an attempt to increase funding through lobbying. And they want us to raise some money in this area to support the lobbying efforts to increase state funding and then actually change the formulas by which they operate. And it was an extensive presentation. Sadly, it wasn't very well attended, but, so now, this here, it says the school board is endorsing the, the project is called Raise the Floor Initiative. As the law requires educated services to be adequately meet the needs of every child in Rangeley is a community that takes pride in providing excellent school services as well as encouraging all families that locate in Rangeley the best advance their interests of their children. Whereas there is a method to fund education with state resources which is named Essential Program and Services, EPS, funding formula, that has a goal of focusing state funding to school districts equitably through the state so that the school districts can assure basic state-defined measures of education are delivered to all Maine children regardless of where they live. It is also recognized that not all towns are treated with fiscal equitability by the current state funding methodology. School is in support of it, signed by Nancy Hilliard and Colleen Koob, co-chairs. Dr. Colleen Koob. I better get that right, or I will hear about that. So the idea at that meeting was that the school would fund half of it and the town would fund the other half. They're asking for $1,000, correct?
Yeah, it's $5 per student, and what they're asking in the legislation is that there be a floor that 15% of the cost of a student's education be paid for by the state. Currently, Rangeley gets zero except for our special ed students.
Okay. You had a comment to me today. You want to share that with everybody?
Yep, the only thing is where the funding is coming from, and that's my only main concern for that. And also, it should probably go to the clerk, and so it can be in our packet.
Well, I didn't get it till Friday, and I didn't want to wait till another meeting.
No, and Paul did exactly what I asked him to do, was bring it into us, so.
What's that?
He did exactly what was requested of him. So
Oh.
I'll get it to the clerk, but
Okay.
it's still public information. I wanted you to get it.
Okay, all right.
They said-
But my main concern is, like, what was the vote, was it unanimous with the school board vote throughout for the process?
Yeah.
And do they know exactly how they're gonna get the funding yet for that?
For the $1,000 or for the whole state?
For the whole state?
It's not really up to us, that's up to the legislature. If the legislature feels it's important enough, then that's up to them to figure out where they would get the funding.
Because I just know that they've tried in the past, and we've had to step in as bankers and realtors, and they've reached out to us where they tried first to tax anyone that made annual income over $250,000, and they tried to tax them at a higher tax bracket in order to bring those funds in, and that was actually a fight to get that changed. There was another initiative too in regards to the housing part that was also voted down as well. So I'm just curious to how that whole process part works for that.
My concern is the students of Rangeley, and we currently get zero funding, and this town has to pay an awful lot of money in taxes to support that school, and it's gonna continue to go up. And I think the state should help us because we're not a wealthy community. We have wealthy people who visit here, but we are not a wealthy community.
Comment?
Yeah, I think, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this $1,000 is towards the lobbying effort.
That's correct.
Yeah, so this isn't, going into the till, this is our share of the lobbying effort to get this moved forward in the legislature.
Is there a timeline for getting the money?
It was October of 2018, but we're obviously
I think we missed that one.
The lobbying
My
effort
point is, can we,
what is
do
The
we,
lobbying
Yeah.
effort.
do you
yeah.
need it now, or can you wait till after the budget, is my point?
But he doesn't decide that. What we're doing, if you remember the presentation,
Anyway,
we've agreed to ask the school to fund half of it. We
Right,
talked
I
about the
understand all
other half.
that,
So
yeah.
we're gonna find our $500, get it into the lobbying effort, so that
1,000.
it's 1,000 total,
Yeah. Oh,
500 for them,
okay, I
500 here.
misunderstood.
Okay, and then it goes down to them, and then they're trying to get to a threshold of 31,000, correct?
I think they've already raised a lot.
Yeah, they're trying to get to a threshold of $31,000, so in this lobbying season, if you will, they'll get to this right away, as soon as they have all the money.
We can come up with $500.
Just so that you understand exactly what this is for, this is to help the lobbying effort to change the funding formula, to change how the state looks at rural, urban, and city dwellers. Okay, because right now, it's not equitable.
No, we don't
Anything
get
else you want to chime in on?
Yeah, just to give a little more specifics, the presentation we heard was, it would be new money, it would not take away from existing school funding from the EPS formula, and it would allow all towns to receive a minimum of 15% of their cost of the EPS portion. So the total cost of that was, I believe I remember, $21 million. And that would come from state revenues, general fund revenues. And I remember just before the legislature adjourned, the last report I heard was the state took in $364 million more than they anticipated last year. So the economy is booming in the state of Maine. And so if this were funded, it would come from that additional revenue source that's coming in. And it wouldn't touch existing education funding. But it would try to even the playing field to make sure all towns got some EPS money, where now all the wealthy communities that the state determines wealthy based on taxable value. Like somebody said, you have an awful lot of out-of-town second homeowners that may be wealthy. So taxable value is the determination for who receives the most education dollars.
So the money's there, they don't have to appropriate X amount of dollars to fund this.
And the state has tried to fully fund the 55% commitment. The first year I was in the legislature, we had 162 million extra dollars at the end of the session, and every nickel of that went into education. Rangeley didn't see any of that, because you're still, you know, the way the formula works, you know, they don't consider you needy in.
It's our valuation.
Your valuation is too high.
So, one more point, you can take your time and research this and do what you will with it, but county commissioners were presented this thing and they turned it down 2-1. The one person that did vote for it was our representative, Clyde Barker, and the response from the other two was folks like Rangeley, because he talked about Rangeley a lot, folks like Rangeley and their select board is too liberal. I'd like to invite him up here. Hello. To have this conversation. Yeah. Okay, next. One more thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, did we say that we would split the cost? Is that what we did, or is the plantations putting in a portion as well?
Plantation's already participating through the school.
So ours is not gonna be a participation for the school, it's gonna be,
We
the
agreed
town?
initially, that means split the cost.
okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Public to speak, you're shaking your head, sir, tell me what your problem is.
We're using education to fund lobbying efforts. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. Education's important, but the money all comes out of the same pocket. Whether I pay my tax to the state, they send it back to me, or I pay it locally. I would rather reduce state taxes, pay more locally, and have more control over it. It's not like, oh, the state's got money, they'll give it to us. The state gets their money from us. That's the problem. It's not a magic wand out there. There's
Yeah,
a
not
pot
quite.
of money.
Yeah, you're forgetting one thing, sales tax don't come necessarily just from you.
It's the state doesn't just print money, it's gotta get it from us, and so I'm disturbed that the school feels it's important to lobby. They're an educational facility, they're not a lobbying facility, and I'm sorry.
It's
it
not just our
bothers me.
school.
It bothers me.
Yep, no, I appreciate the fact that you're bringing that up. I just want you to recognize a couple of things. The only way we're going to have a voice in how this works is through probably a lobbying group. It's been pointed out to us, and I wish you had been here for the presentation. I think you would find that their efforts are towards the children and educational funding. So if you're happy with the monies that the state has going in some other direction with no lobbying effort, that's your choice. It's there, and now the question is, where does it get spent? Paul?
I just would like to encourage anybody who has an interest in this to come to our school board meetings, because we're in budget season right now, so I'd really encourage you to come now, because in 10 years from now, if things keep going the way they are without state funding, it's very likely that this town will have to decide to send some of our students somewhere else, because we're not going to be able to afford it. So this is an effort to try to improve our school, and while yes, the state takes our money, they don't distribute it equitably. And so this is an effort to try to get the legislature to really understand how they're distributing the money, and the fact that towns that don't need it are getting it. We need it, because if we keep seeing our budgets go up the way that we've seen them go up the last 5 years, we're going to be in trouble.
Thank you. Mr. Coop?
If you remember, I hope everybody would remember this, but 20 plus years ago, the Maine State Lottery came into effect, and they sold it to all of us based on funding education, and not $1 has ever come from the Maine State Lottery to education. So I would ask that we all maybe figure out why.
You're right, thank you. I have a tendency to ask questions after I should. Go ahead. Next.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
I just point out, having lived in New Jersey all of my life before moving here, we had both a lottery and we also had gambling, all to have gone to education. As far as anybody can tell you, none of it went to either of those, and to this day, no one can tell you where it goes.
So you might agree that that's an education in and of itself, right there. Anything else, folks? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Thank you, everyone.
Steve, you wanna vote on that, to approve the $500?
I'll make a motion to approve the $500 match for the funding.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Boards and committees, we have received information from the Sewer, Planning Board, Ordinance Committee, Rangeley Region Economic Opportunity Committee, Airport Update, all of those wonderful things. We've got lots of material that's available to you to read at your leisure. We have recommendations from the Airport Committee, as you heard earlier, that we'll be applying here. I want to point out one thing here. Just give me a second to grab it. Yeah, this one right here. At the meeting of, well, let me ask this. Any of you have comments on any of them before I go into the one I had? Hey, anybody over here? All right.
Steve?
1 second. I want to ask a question regarding the ordinance committee meeting. In your minutes that you presented to us, the committee discussed the draft with changes, et cetera, et cetera. It gets down to, it says, page 14, conflict and clear up to cover some person/company. And below it, it says, get rid of Board of Selectmen and permitting process.
Well, we didn't come from me.
I might agree with this. Get an opportunity to have one last thing. And then I'm assuming what it means is that you want the process to be code enforcement officer and planning board approval will then bring it to.
Yeah.
Our
The town attorney recommended choosing a licensing authority, not having code enforcement, planning board, and board of selectmen.
Perfect,
She said choose something, so.
good. All right, thank you for clearing that up.
Wording was.
It was one of those minutes that jumped out and I'm going, now they're talking, get it off our plate. I thought that was pretty good. All right.
We're good.
Any comments on any of that? Mr. Borga?
I knew what you were talking about.
You mentioned that all of this information is available to us to read. How?
Well, Mark, you're here every day. You can, they'll give it to you. And I mention this at every single meeting. Should you need copies of this, it's available to you.
And it's free. You just ask them for.
And it's what?
Free. You don't have to pay for it.
A lot of them are posted on our website.
Pardon?
They're all on our website.
Right, but you can get a paper copy if you want at the front desk, is that correct?
It's 25 or 30 cents a page to make copies, that's.
Okay,
that's what our-
there you go. 30 cents, I didn't know the cost of
Yeah,
it, so.
25,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, it's one of the two, 25 or 30 cents a page.
Right. If you have access to the web, please go there. I mean, let's face it, coming in and ask the town to copy everything each day. If you need it, you need it. You get it, they'll give it to you. But if you're able to access it on the web, it's there. Should it not be there, let me know. I'll make sure we'll look into it. Consent items, disbursement warrants.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we pay AP warrant fiscal year 19, number 28 for $1,453,715.09.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? So moved. Okay. Event permit, Rangeley Pond Hockey Festival.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the event permit application for the Rangeley Pond Hockey Festival to take place on Haley Pond. The date of the event is February 1st through 3rd.
Second, somebody? I'll second it.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yes.
Insurance, there's a highlight in the back, does that mean we're waiting for pending insurance?
There it is. Thank you,
Woo,
Karen.
there you go.
Yes, it's an interactive crowd. I like it. Any comments? I will say this. I want to thank you, Karen, and Bill Bry, and others that are working hard to keep this fabulous event going in Rangeley. I appreciate you stepping up.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're doing a great job. Again, arduous task. All in favor? Next, CF ride.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the event permit application for a parade for the cystic fibrosis ride at Bald Mountain Camps. The date of the event is February 16th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Questions?
You got a second?
I'm sorry?
Did you give me a second?
I did need a second.
Okay, second.
Second. Any questions? Incidentally, it's not just, oh, go ahead.
Insurance highlighted again on the back, are we good?
That was covered by Bald Mountain Camps.
That's right.
All right, just make sure that we have everything.
Oh, thank you. I will be sure
Oh,
to
okay.
get it to you. Incidentally, there's also reciprocity that day for all of Canada and states that border us, and they can come from anywhere. Don't have to pay a registration for one day. I want to thank the state for that. And secondly, the parade,
New Hampshire's not included in reciprocity weekend this year.
I have the letter. I'll be sure to bring it into town.
Different thing.
Oh, okay.
He has his own,
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking reciprocity weekend that's coming up.
No, this is something that I do each year through the IFNW to encourage more to come to Rangeley. And the parade is from Moosomingunnuk Lake down the Cary Road through Aquasic onto Rangeley, through down Rangeley Lake, come up to Moose Alley off from Russell Cove, down Main Street, come in to the Chamber of Commerce, back out of the lake and back. The intent is to get as many sleds as we can get involved and hopefully break the world record. To be honest with you, this is an event where we raised $178,000 for cystic fibrosis in the last 5 years. It's more about helping kids who need to breathe than it is breaking a world record, quite frankly. So I'm glad to be part of this. All in favor? No.
Steve, you might want to check with the ad that you're running on Channel 8 with Steve Minnick. The last 2 years, he said, join us in Rangeley for the event. Now it just says something about all snowmobilers in Maine come to Maine and help support cystic fibrosis. It doesn't say Rangeley or Mooseland.
Yep, and it doesn't say Ball Mountain Camps, and it doesn't say Quasic.
But he
One of
did
the
say
constraints
Rangeley.
we have with these stations, and they don't like to participate with the business unless I'm advertising with them. And Steve Minnick has already tried to, I think they're going to change the Rangeley component of it, and I think you may see a change in that soon. But honestly, not my department, so I didn't pay attention to it. But thank
See, I
you.
watch too much television as a retired person.
You gotta take care of your wife. You have your priorities straight.
Exactly.
God bless you. Downtown Reserve with Wright Pierce.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we pay the Wright Pierce bill for $4,110.54.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Can I just add, they still had Tim listed here as town manager? Wright Pierce does?
I don't see those.
Oh,
Tracy, top of the
she's
page,
busy.
Chair.
Wait a
We
minute.
still have it here. Right in here still has two listed as town manager. Oh, okay, I'll take care of that.
Sorry.
It's been moved, seconded, and voted on. We in good shape over there?
After looking at the invoice, I'm questioning if the amount due is $212.52, or if it's the $4,110.54. It looks like it could just be $212.52.
It's the 200 one, right?
Yeah, so if
Because
it's
the 4,000 was the last one, wasn't it?
the bottom
We
line.
may have approved that the last time.
We have such a lag with the, sometimes the payment doesn't get mailed out, so it kind of crosses in the mail, because we've had this invoice for a spell.
So that's an amendment to pay. Top part.
Oh. Amend my motion, instead of 4,000 to $212.52. There you go. And haven't changed the name on the thing, they still send them as
Goes on.
All in favor? Okay, so vote. Okay. Liquor license for Forks in the Air, Ice Bar.
So is this vote for the letter that is being sent in support of it?
I'm not sure, so.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Cindy?
Well,
Increasing it.
there's a letter here that that is being sent to the Bureau of Alcohol, Beverages and Lottery Operations. There's a typo in there. Requiring our signature that we are in support of the ice bar.
Right, before any liquor license can get an adjunct to it, town has to support it. So if I was to consider expanding my liquor license, I need your approval before I can send it to the state.
Yes, so hence my question, is are we, there isn't an application here, but there is a letter that is, being sent to the Bureau of Alcohol Beverages.
To support their request to extend it outside for
Okay.
a short duration, it's not permanent.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the request from Forks in the Air to extend their liquor license premises area to include their back deck, 20 by 20 feet for February 17th, 2019, noon to 5 p.m.
Karen?
It's not to include our back deck, it's to include an area contiguous to our back deck.
You'll see the diagram, the second diagram. It's not the deck, it's beyond it.
I'll amend my motion to say to include the area contiguous
Ice bar.
There you go.
back deck.
I need a second.
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 Thank you. Shelley seconding. Questions from the board? Karen? Hey, you two, knock it off. Good idea. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. Yep. All in favor? Anything you can do to bring more business, I think it's fabulous. Congratulations. Next. We have some correspondence from Life Flight that I want to read to you. I'll probably paraphrase a little bit, it's short. Dear Rangeley citizens, thank you. You just made Maine a safer place to live, visit, work, and play. Your gift will help Life Flight bring our flying hospitals to someone who is critically ill or injured when they need it most. when they need us. Your contribution helps people like Mindy Sprague, who experienced a horrific accident where she was crushed between a train car and a loading dock. While at work on a train yard in Maine, while stuck, she was unable to breathe. Once freed, her blood pressure bottomed out more than once, indicating serious internal bleeding. As soon as Life Flight arrived to transport her to specialty care, our clinical crew was able to administer blood since we carry it on every flight. Although Mindy sustained injuries to her liver, spleen, kidney, and pancreas, along with multiple major fractures, she has made a remarkable recovery and has returned to her life much as it was before the accident. You make second chances possible. We are profoundly grateful to you for believing that every person in Maine deserves to have a second chance at survival. Sincerely, Tom Judge, from the Life Flight Foundation. The amount was given of $2,000, so just to fill the top line in for you. Wait a second here. Old business, downtown revitalization plan. You're on the dais. Anything going on?
Nothing new.
Good?
A lot going on, but nothing new.
Nothing to report. Thank you. New business. John?
We have the tax abatement that, in a nutshell, the assessors found that they had an additional acre of land on a parcel. And the law allows that when there's an illegal bill made by an error like that, the assessors can abate that portion of the tax within the first year, but the selectmen can also abate previous 2 years, a total of 3 years. So if you looked at what the assessors did, the total acreage should have been .86, but apparently when that was put into a new program in 2013, it was recorded as 1.86 acres. So they removed that acre and they approved based on the value at the time in the current year, an abatement of $311.85. You're being asked to approve the 2016-17 abatement based on that mill rate of $275.35, and the 2017-18 year, and based on that mill rate, $292.68.
So your recommendation is that we take the additional 2 years and include it into a motion?
Yes.
Right.
Do each one separately, because they're two separate tax years, and you have to sign a separate paper for each year that we can give to the assessor and we can give to the tax collector. Because if these are already paid, then it looks like the way they worked out the current one was we'll give a credit on the current tax bill for that $300, so they may want to do the same thing on the previous 2 years.
Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the abatement request for 2016-17 in the amount of $275.35 for 202 Quimby Pond Road.
Second.
Dave, second. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor? So moved. Anything else on the new business, John?
I have to do another next year, so, Mr. Chairman,
Oh, you did it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the abatement request for fiscal year 2017-18 for 202 Quimby Pond Road in the amount of $292.68.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Next.
So that, the other issue is the airport commission voted 5-1 in favor of proceeding, moving forward, to authorize DuBois and King to get us a proposal for the design for the parallel taxiway. What was also included in your package was the actual grant application we had submitted by the deadline for this latest round of discretionary funding. So if they get us a proposal for what needs to be done, and we end up signing a contract to begin the final engineering, and we may be ready if we get that grant. We'll know in May. Apparently what we hear in May was when we would know if we got that grant. It's been talked about before about, putting this out to bid. I want to read part of our purchasing policy that deals with Section 7 negotiations. It says negotiations with one or more suppliers for the supply of goods and or services would take place when any of the following conditions exist. One of the conditions is the extension or restatement of an existing contract would be more cost effective or beneficial to the municipality. Now, they've been our engineer, they designed the runway, they put in this application for us, wrote that for the taxiway. They've done the environmental assessment, they've got all the permits already for this taxiway part of it. How could any new company come in and be competitive when the existing company that we have has already done so much through this process? So I think under your policy that we're covered, and one other point under negotiations is when authorized by the town manager. So I don't have any problem with us continuing a contract with D&K to continue this. To me, this is one project under the airport. It's a continuation of that project because of the federal funding and all that. So my recommendation is we just keep retaining them. I mean, we have an excellent engineering company. We should keep them.
Donnie?
Yeah, does the FAA have, I mean, I know what ours says, but do they care?
We can find out.
You probably oughta.
I don't believe there'd be an issue with that.
Well, you never know.
Go ahead.
Absolutely not. We have in Norwood, Massachusetts and Plymouth, Massachusetts, we've been the retained contractor for over 30 years. Time and time again. Every 5 years they go through a reselection. You guys went through a reselection a year and a half ago, and we promised we would move forward to bring a project for you guys at 100%, and we've done everything that we said we were going to do. I haven't heard any complaints, maybe a couple, but I haven't heard any complaints. It's gone very well.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be
Okay.
smitten, but I think it's important to note that we would continue this.
Let me ask it to you differently. In your experience, the airport projects you've done, in any situation where your contract was continued, did the FAA pose an issue with you?
Absolutely not.
Is there a policy in place by which the FAA reviews it?
No,
No. So in your experience, there is none?
there is none.
Thank you.
Except for every 5 years, it has to be,
No, that was in that area,
that was
correct?
just in that one spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anything?
I'll make a motion.
So basically, we're just asking for you to provide us numbers. Because, I mean, we need to know how much this is gonna cost, right?
Correct?
Yeah.
So you're just gonna
Design it.
run up some numbers and present it to the board.
And then you would authorize a contract for the design of the taxiway. So this is for them to present us with a contract. And then that would allow plenty of time to check with FAA and make sure this was okay. I have no reason to doubt the guy.
Oh, absolutely. Feel free.
Okay.
Of course.
Mr. Morgan?
That was my question, that this is just for a proposal from
Okay.
Dubois King
Right.
to
Thank you.
design the taxiway and not approval for the design.
Can I answer that
At
question?
this time.
Love to. I'd love to answer that question.
Go ahead.
We would write a contract to move the design forward. We have to have the design ready to go for about the end of March to put it out to bid, to get bid tabulation. So this would be a contract that would be reviewed by your town lawyers to present to the select board at the next select board meeting to allow us to move forward on the design.
That clear? Yes, John?
In what we had submitted for the grant, It actually says that Town of Rangeley is seeking to advance the design and bid of this project in preparation for construction in 2019. Final design will consist of the preparation of drawings and contract specifications for contractor bidding purposes. The project will include the advertisement for bids during the early spring of 2019 and be prepared to award a contract at the beginning of the 2019 construction season. Well, that's obviously, in May, they gave us another 100% grant. So if not, this will still be designed, and the engineering, once we approve a contract, and then the engineering portion of that is covered because the project is in the 2021 CIP for the state and the federal program. So either way, the CIP will pay for that, at least 95% of between the federal and the state, and our 5% would be about $250,000. Or nothing if we get this
Okay,
grant in May.
thank you. I need a motion.
So we have,
No,
What was the wording you needed in the motion? Du Bois and King to move forward with?
To prepare a design for the parallel taxiway.
So moved.
To prepare a contract for the design of the parallel taxiway. And that'll come back to us.
Yeah, I would think we'd want public input as well, with everything that's
Yeah, 'cause
gone on, we've got,
there'd be a price tag on it,
yeah.
I'm sure.
There's some interest in the solar array, perhaps.
all right, I need a second.
Second.
Got a second. Anything else from the board? I see everybody's hand. Yep. I'm right now before the listening to the board. Anything else from you folks?
It's discussion, we've got a motion and a,
Thank you,
and a second.
thank you. Anything from the board? All right, Joe?
Yeah, I recommend going with Du Bois King. I worked a lot of engineering outfits, but they do what they say they're gonna do and they don't mess around. I'm pretty impressed.
Thank you, thank you. Anything else?
So
Yes?
do they get paid out of this grant if we get it in May?
I'm sorry, I apologize, Brad, I just can't hear you.
Do they get paid out of this grant if we get it in May? Or is it something we pay for
Yep,
out of our?
the answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
if we don't get it, then what?
Go ahead, give us an answer.
Sure, so the $600,000 has currently been brought in with force account. We would ask that there's some participation from the town. We fronted all of the planning, all the environmental aspect and the initial engineering. We just recently got refunded. Took about 12 to 14 months where we carried that on our docket at Du Bois and King for the initial stuff. In this particular case, we brought forward a project which was 100% funded. Shane was integral in working out the force account money, so there's $600,000 that will be in the account. And we're asking that for Du Bois and King to be paid for that design. And of course, that dollar amount will be in the application that we'll bring before the town for the next select board meeting. Once the project is funded, then the town of Rangeley will be fully refunded that amount and back into their coffers.
Any other questions? All those in favor? No opposed. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Anything else, John, on the new business? All right, thank you. Town manager's report, department head updates. Any comments on any of the updates, John? Any highlights?
Just briefly, if you look at the code enforcement, one of his, the chairman and I talked to our town attorney, and we did arrange for Kristen Collins to come up and meet with Tom so that they could know exactly what each other needed. There was some miscommunication. Also, we discovered that she had been out on maternity leave. None of us knew that. That certainly caused part of the situation.
Yeah.
So, what we worked out with our attorney is that he's made it clear to her that we're a top priority. she's already been up here meeting with Tom. If we need additional, like once she's done, if we want whatever she's done to be reviewed, then we can send that off for a final review to Mr. Casafica. And everybody seemed to agree that that would be a good use of an additional attorney's viewpoint. So we're back to Tom working with Kristen. And I think, both sides had a little bit of miscommunication.
Thank you. Calendar. January 29th, Board of Selectmen and Budget Committee will be meeting at 4 p.m. And we've got to reschedule our February 18th meeting to,
Steve?
yep,
The auditor is apparently wanting to meet with the board, and he can make it on the 25th.
okay.
You want to have that date as an alternate meeting date?
When is the 25th?
Following Monday.
Monday? You all set with Monday? How does yours get? Cindy, you getting your schedule?
I'm getting my schedule.
All right, 25th good for you?
Everything's good for me.
Attaboy. How about you, Donna?
Yeah.
How about you?
Monday
25th on Monday? Yeah.
at 6?
Well, we gotta wait for, the $15 million girl over here.
Oh, wait a minute, isn't that vacation week?
I think it's in my basketball practice bag.
Well,
That's where it came from.
it's what?
I said, I think it's in my basketball practice bag. That's where it came from, was varsity
Okay,
basketball.
we're gonna go with the 25th, Cindy. So,
Okay.
we got it. All right, we're good there? 25th?
6 p.m.?
We'll wrap it all, yeah, but we'll do the other meeting before that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the time the auditor will be here.
Let's just plan on 5
Have
to
a
get
5
him,
o'clock.
To meet with the auditor?
meet with the auditor,
Okay.
get
5
through
o'clock.
that, 5 o'clock. All right?
Airport Commission has a meeting at 4:30.
Yep, well, they can do it in the firehouse, or we will, one of the two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll meet somewhere. You good with that? Okay. All right. Let's see here. Fire department updates, nice job for the fire department. You'll see in your packet the changes made in the agency and promotion agreement with McDougal. I wanna make sure you've seen that. President's Day, other business, agent promotion agreement, again, you've all seen that, you're good? Made the changes, everybody's good, fine. RSU 78 audit. You all want some material to read, now I'm looking straight at you.
No, not particularly.
Yes, indeed, because these are numbers you need to absorb.
I'm fully aware of school funding, and
Okay.
I'm not one who's convinced that more money equals quality.
Okay.
Here's what we get first, so numbers aren't gonna do it, sorry.
Well, that's okay, you're welcome, but this is enough to
Less
put you
money
right to sleep.
doesn't
And I must tell you, I got a whole boatload of questions for the school board on this, I probably should attend the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, any comments on this at all? All right, any communications from the select board? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it, nice to see a nice crowd here tonight. Scott, nice to see you here.
Oh, no problem.
Absolutely no problem. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Now go into executive session, please. Yep. We're going into executive session. What's that?
When's the trip down to Farmington?
Oh,